All right, all right. So yeah, welcome everyone to the Emerging Technology webinar. My name is Tongai Choto, co-founder of AfriBlogs, a platform and a network that helps founders connect with top talent from across the African diaspora, and for top talent to be able to, find remote jobs and freelancing opportunities. We're super happy to have you here, and we appreciate everyone for coming. It's everyone is joining from different time zones. I'm currently in Zambia. Some of our speakers are in Kenya and some are in Zimbabwe. I see people in Georgia, in DC, Howard University. Thank you everyone for coming. This is why this is important, and coming together globally as the African diaspora, as Black people working together, educating each other on these important technologies is very important, and we appreciate you for taking your time out. So today, before we start, we have Mr. Sinclair Skinner, who is co-founder of the Black Blockchain Summit, joining us on call. He'll give us an intro to why we're doing all of this and some background, so that as we all get into this, we have some understanding of why this is important. Thank you, Mr. Sinclair.
All right, thank you so much, Brother Tongai Choto, and thank you all for joining us. We definitely want to get to the meat of the matter, and just want to, but also give you context. We think it's very important as technologists to make sure that our community is engaged with all the things that are coming forward as far as the cutting edge technologies, emerging technologies. And we want to make sure when these technologies are presented, they're presented in a way that they're relevant, so that when oftentimes we would attend a conference or attend certain meetings, the issues that were being discussed were not as relevant or pertinent to our community. So we make sure through the Black Blockchain Summit every year that we do so. And then we realize that, not everybody can physically make it to the conference. Not everybody's going to wait a year. And the way that technology moves so quickly, it's important that we can create opportunities for us to engage our communities as often as at least once a month. So we came up with the Emerging Technology webinar. We're now doing them the last Monday of each month. And we take this opportunity to bring some of the best and brightest minds in the world, talking about some of the latest and most relevant technology, and have those technologies be accessible so that you can apply them to your workplace, to your business, to your organization, or even to your family, to our everyday life. And make sure that we are able to do that in a way that's collaborative, as well as gives us opportunities to use this to empower ourselves. Now, in the United States, we're dealing with a whole bunch of issues, and there's been a big blockchain conference and things like that. But I want everyone to know that we as people have the right to take these technologies and apply them in our communities as best as we can. And we need to be in the position to have the authority of that. Someone else shouldn't be telling us how to use these technologies. So please never take anything that we're saying as the only way. We're offering you the opportunity to understand, ask questions, and see how you can apply these technologies for yourself. With that being said, thank you so much for taking time out of your day and joining us. And thank you so much, good brother Tongai, and everyone for providing this wonderful opportunity. I am because we are.
I am because we are. Thank you so much. So we're going to get right into it. And our first speaker is Peter Okwara. He will introduce himself, but he's a great brother, an amazing software developer who has, so much interest in blockchain development, Web3, as well as artificial intelligence. But you tell us more about, what he's speaking on today. So Peter, you can join in the conversation. Thank you.
So hi everyone. I hope you guys can hear me. Yeah, so my name is Peter Okwara. I am from Nairobi, Kenya. I am the founder of CareerGo, which is a platform where you can use it for applying jobs by generating AI resumes and cover letters. I am also a consultant at AfriBlocks, where I consult on development on technologies such as blockchain technology and AI. And today I'll be talking about driving blockchain business success through analytics and how you can leverage analytics to improve the growth of your business. So just a bit. Can you see my screen? Is it okay?
No, it's on the side.
Mm,
I think you can proceed. We can, yeah, okay, perfect.
okay, like that. Okay. So yeah, so when you're running a blockchain business, gathering this data is quite important so that you can make decisions. This data could be how people are getting to your landing page, which pages are they spending most time in, what buttons they're clicking. All that data can be used to kind of like improve the conversion of clients from seeing your page to actually getting to your product. And which is very important. So one of the ways to kind of keep track or measure these things is something called the AARR Pareto matrix. So what you monitor on your website or on your apps is number one, acquisition. How are people getting into your app in the first place? The next thing you normally track is activation. So activation is normally a major event that shows that people are actually using your app. So, for example, if you have a blockchain solution, an activation would be something like someone deposits money into your wallet, or someone actually pays something using the blockchain wallet. So that could be described as an activation event. The other thing you need to monitor is retention, like how frequently are users using your product. And yeah, that's easy to check. Like you're just checking if they're coming back daily, weekly, or monthly. The other thing is referrals. So referrals is trying to say which users are actually sharing your product, and does it have an impact in that after your product has been shared, how many people are clicking on that link and coming back to view the product? And then lastly is revenue. So every business, unless you're an NGO, every business needs to generate revenue. So being able to track revenue is actually important for each and every business. So that's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is by checking the sort of you develop a funnel and then you track how people are converting within each and every stage. So what you can do is you can try and map out the user journey for your blockchain product from where they get awareness of the product to where they actually use or purchase your product. And in the image I've shown there below, like this is just an example of my site where I've tried to map out the whole funnel. So because people will come in from the landing page, and then there are various sections within the landing page, but you want to track how many people go to the pricing page. You can see at least 95% have still have been able to go to the pricing section. And then now you track how many people try and purchase a product. So you can see there this begin checkout. So how many people try to actually purchase a product, and then there's the last step, which is purchase. So depending on the kind of business you have in blockchain, you can actually try and map out a funnel like this. And the goal would be like trying to see the conversion rate, how well are users converting, and also based on the marketing and the feedback from the sales, trying to improve on the landing page, the pricing section, so that the conversion can be higher. Another thing that is important is to know where your users are coming from. And that's where something called the UTM parameters is important. So when you have your website or your blockchain website for a business, you'll have a URL. Let's say it's blockchainsummit.com, which is good, but you need to track where these users are actually coming from, the source. So there's actually a way where you can add extra information, like over here you can see UTM source is equals to LinkedIn, and the medium, and the campaign, the term, and the content. So there's actually a way you can add all these parameters, so that, let's say if your users are on LinkedIn, when they click it, it populates all this information, and then on your analytics, you can actually track and see that, yeah, these are the number of users who came from LinkedIn, these are the number of users who came from Twitter, Facebook, and so on and so forth. And this will be quite helpful in determining what marketing strategies are the best. Because if you see like LinkedIn is performing well, maybe you lean heavily on that. If you see Facebook is performing well, you lean heavily on that. Also, when they're doing ads, it's also possible to put all this tracking information. In some cases, you can even put different captions for the ads you have used, so that you can track which headline like performed best within your ads. So that's about UTM trackers. So there are many sites that can be used for these kinds of analytics. One of them is Google Analytics. Another one, which I've come to like, is called PostHog Analytics. And PostHog actually, it provides all this information. Like you can do session replay, in that you can see what your users are doing on your website. The normal product analytics I've talked about, you can actually see it. You can do things like A/B testing and things like that. So for the next step, I'll just show you, like, for example, how I've set up my site on PostHog. So for example, I think I'll start with this. So this is an example of a simple funnel where we are tracking how people are converting on our website. So you can see from here, you can see 3,201 people go to the landing page, and then there's a percentage that went to the sign-in page. And then after that, there's another percentage that clicked in the sign-in, they actually signed in. And then the other next steps, like people who navigated to the payments, people who attempted to purchase and then purchased. So this information can really help in making decisions on where to improve, especially for me when it comes to like sales and marketing. I'll show you another example. So this example was me. I did a YouTube interview, and the guys who did the interview wanted to see how many people from their side are actually paying for the product. So there's a way you can specify that. I think I'll click. You can specify that if the source is coming from the YouTube channel, in this case, the YouTube channel was Startup Soko, and the campaign was actually a podcast. You can, this is an example of the UTM parameters. You can actually set this, and then I would track those guys who came from this YouTube channel where you did this talk. How are they performing as they go through down all the steps? And if I show for the last 180 days, it shows that, yeah, there are some people who are coming in, going to the signing page and doing all the other activities. This is another example of another dashboard, again, within PostHog, where you can track which channel is actually performing the best using what I talked about, the UTM codes. So you can see here, like Facebook got way more users coming in as compared to the other channels. Last bit was about the Pirate Matrix, where you can, it's also another way of tracking and viewing the performance of your business, where you are tracking the acquisition, like how many people are able to get to the website to sign up, or actually get to the website and sign up. Activation metrics is now them actually using the product. Here, ideally, would be like, for example, as I said, someone paying for or depositing money in your wallet, or someone actually buying a product. Then this retention, it looks at how well are you retaining users over time. And then is revenue metrics, which is how many people are able to actually perform the payment. And then referrals, like when you refer, how many people are coming back after using the product. And to wrap it up, I think can talk about the steps and best practices. For me, it's how can we promote this culture of being data-driven and analytics? That means like collaborating with the sales team, the marketing team, and the engineering team to kind of be able to gather all this data and share it with all the teams so that you can make all this informed information. And I think I'll just pause to see if there are any questions.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Peter. I think this is, super interesting, because, many times, you work, you do Google ads, Facebook ads, but at the end of the day, you're still not sure if it's really working or not. You might get two people, sending you a message, maybe one buys, but you're still not sure how the funnel started. Were they 30 people that saw the ad and maybe 10 didn't understand it at all? So all of those things. So it's super interesting that there are technology tools that we can integrate within our businesses, within our websites, within our already existing infrastructure that we have to give us, better understanding of, that information. So anyone with questions, feel free to post in the chat so that, our speaker can give us more insights.
As we wait for questions, I'm just showing another funnel. So yes, you can use PostHog, and it has better documentation across all the apps, whether you're doing a mobile app or a native website. So it has really good documentation. Alternatively, you can still also do the same in Google Analytics. So here is just a funnel where I'm showing for the last 28 days, there's some people who reached the landing page, then went to the pricing page, then there was a huge drop-off between pricing and them beginning checkout and purchase. So based on this information, you can notice that, yeah, maybe I need to improve these sections so that I can get more sales down the line.
Great. Yeah, thanks a lot, Peter. Just so everyone knows, we will be sharing this recording as well as the presentation after the call. If there are any other questions, okay. There's a question from James that says, what is the cost of the tool? I think you talked about two of the tools. There's Google Analytics and the other one. So that's the first question. I guess you can start with that.
So yeah, I'm seeing a question, is PostHog similar to a CRM and the benefits of a traditional CRM? I think PostHog is very different from a CRM and also Google Analytics, because PostHog is just focused on analytics. But when it comes to CRM provides a wide range of services. Like, for example, I'll just show you what I use, which is Zoho One. So within a CRM, you can capture all your leads, which is all your contacts. You can manage all your marketing. There's some CRMs that also provide like, analytics. So like, yeah, this is an example of a CRM, which is Zoho One. You see here, it has books for managing my accounting. Then there's campaigns for me actually running email marketing campaigns. There's social for me doing the posting on social media. And then there's PageSense. So PageSense is also like analytics. It's the same analytics, but it's just focused on that. So what I'll say is PostHog, Google Analytics, and Zoho PageSense, those are focused on analytics, but CRMs do a wide range of activities as opposed to analytics. Follow-up, how would you go about implementing both tools? If you're talking about PostHog and Google Analytics, the first thing is to identify what are the key events you want to actually track. So, of course, one of them is payments. Payments is probably one of them. The second one would be activation, some kind of activation. And activation is defined as someone like actually using your product. That could be like actually like creating a wallet or creating an address. So you define an actual key event for that. The other things are, I think then once you have those things, you can actually set up a basic Barrett matrix for that. The other one where you're talking about funnels like this one, where you're tracking how many people are transitioning between the page to pricing, I think that one is just relatively easy. Like you're just tracking from landing page to actually them paying for the product. So that one is much easier.
Yeah, yeah, and thanks a lot, Peter. This is, super helpful. I was really interested to answer the question that the cost of the tool. So I want to talk about Google Analytics, which is the other tool that Peter just shared. And the interesting thing is it's actually free. You can set up, with the help of Peter and some of our freelancers, you can set that up in a day and you start to get, useful information on where traffic is coming from for free. And that's part of the reason why we're doing this. Sometimes you think, it will cost an arm and leg, it's too expensive, there's no way I can do this. This tool right here that Peter is showing is available for free. So yeah, without, we want to move on to the next speaker, who's Tinotenda Vashibe. And thank you so much, Peter, for sharing this super helpful information. Our next speaker
Thank you.
is a designer. He's an amazing designer, and he'll speak more, but we want to get his views on best design practices for your business, for your startup. Tinotenda, say you can join.
Okay, thank you, Tongai, and thank you, Peter, for your presentation. I'm sure I'm going to have quite a lot of follow-up questions after this event is done. But yeah, first of all, I'd just like to introduce myself. My name is Tinotenda Vashibe, and I've been a graphic designer for about, give or take, 8 years. And I've been blessed to be able to work with startups, my favorite organizations, my favorite restaurants, going on to multinational organizations and working with different levels of people, whether it be decision makers or it be the people that will be running around at the low end of the organization, whichever. So one thing I can say with absolute certainty is that when it comes to the best practices of graphic design, either you're doing DIY or you've got someone who's a professional who you're actually working with. There are ways and there are things that you need to know before you go into that. So before I actually go in, let me just share my screen. Please do confirm if you can see it, everyone.
Yes.
Okay. So the first thing that I'd like for us to talk about is brand consistency. So when it comes to brand consistency, what we're talking about is, let's think about a Spotify. Let's think about a Coca-Cola. Let's think about a DHL. Let's think about a Mercedes-Benz. When you think of these companies, the first thing that comes to mind is a certain color. Spotify is definitely green. Coca-Cola is red. DHL, it's yellow and red. Mercedes, it's silver. So what we want is a situation whereby in every single touch point where you're going to interact with your customer, you need to make sure that we have consistent colors, consistent fonts, and consistent logos. We can't have a situation whereby we've got red on one touch point, maybe it's on a billboard, and then we've got yellow and blue on another, perhaps it's on the phone, on your mobile devices and things like that. So we need to make sure that we maintain consistency. And the one thing that helps more than anything else when it comes to maintaining brand consistency is being able to create a brand style guide. A brand style guide, brand Bible, brand manual. People call them by different names. So essentially what this document can and will do for you is it will help you to maintain that brand consistency. because what you need is that coherency and that consistency across different touch points, as I mentioned before. And then the second point of 15, prioritize responsive design. So essentially what we're talking about here is your visuals, they need to be scalable. We need to be able to see them as a favicon on your browser, on your Chrome, on your Edge, whichever browser it is that you're using. We need to be able to see it. And we also need to be able to see it when it's blown up on a billboard, on a t-shirt, things like that. So essentially, we need to make sure that it's not too cluttered. There isn't too much going on in terms of the design itself, such that when it's really small, you can see it. When it's really big, you can still see it. So moving on, we need to be able to focus on user experience design. So Peter mentioned in his presentation something about user journeys, things like that. So user interface design, user experience design, these are things that you will come across regardless of whether you're a startup or a multinational corporation. These are things that you have to engage in. And when it comes to these types of things, I would heavily suggest that you do work with someone who is a professional at user interface design or user experience design, because it's far more technical for someone to just become an expert at it in comparison to just strict graphic design. We'll get onto that as we go through the rest of the presentation. And then staying updated with the design trends. This one you need to take with a bit of a pinch of salt, in the sense that what I mean when I say staying updated with design trends is know what other corporations that are of a similar size to you, or what other startups that are of a similar size to you are doing that is working for them. And then if it's something that could potentially work for you as well, then you can adopt something similar. That does not necessarily mean that you have to completely transform your brand as a consequence. Far from it. What we're saying is that just copy the things, or not necessarily copy, but just emulate the things that you want to achieve in your own company that you've seen other people do. And then moving on to the fifth point, using high quality visuals. This one is fairly straightforward. If you cannot use a photographer to take images for you, high quality, high resolution images from multiple stock sites on the internet readily available. Although, to be fair, it would probably be better to just hire a photographer. However, I do understand that sometimes it's not always easy for you to be able to not only afford, but then just get someone who is of the caliber that you really want when it comes to the images that you're going to use for your brand. And moving on to the next point, creating engaging content. Again, this is fairly straightforward. Essentially, what we're saying is that the content that you're going to create for your brand, be it on social media, be it video content, be it static content, carousels, whatever it may be, whichever platform it is that you're using, specifically in regards to social media, it has to be engaging to your client, to your customer, to whoever the profile of a client that you're looking at. Because at the end of the day, you cannot create content for everybody. You just have to create content for the person who is in line with your customer profile, your ideal customer profile. And then moving on, we would like to have a situation where you optimize your content, optimize your visuals, optimize everything in terms of your brand style for accessibility, ensure that everything is readable, legible. I'll give you a perfect example right now. If you look to the top right corner of this particular document, you can see that the AfriBlocks logo is there. It's not supposed to be dominating, but it's there. It's just supposed to be floating there, and you can see the text that we're using right now for this particular presentation. You can read it clearly. That's what we're looking to achieve. It's supposed to be easy to read. It's supposed to be something that someone can just read in a glance. We don't want a situation where somebody has to squint for them to see what exactly it is that you're trying to achieve. And then point 8, utilizing white space effectively. So when it comes to this one, it's something that I see a lot when it comes to DIY sort of designers, so to speak. Shout out to the DIY designers out there. The one thing is that when it comes to design principles, you should always allow the design to breathe. You should always have a situation whereby there's enough space around whichever elements that you're using to allow the design to breathe. And that's something that most of the time you won't really know unless you actually study the design principles themselves. And one of the things when it comes to the design principles, you don't necessarily need to read a book or anything like that. Just go on YouTube, look up the design principles. And that is something that will go a long way in helping you, especially if you're going to be a DIY designer, or if you're going to be one of those people who's managing their own brand by themselves. Yes, so moving on to the next one, incorporate feedback and iterate. So on this one, it's a bit more nuanced because you can only really use this as much when you're still in the startup phase. If you are in a phase whereby you are quite a large or a mid-sized corporation, it's far much more difficult for you to incorporate feedback and then make wholesale changes. You can incorporate feedback and make minuscule changes. That is the best way that you can incorporate feedback and iterate. And then align your visuals with your business goals. So basically, this one is also quite self-explanatory. However, you need to make sure that whatever visuals, whatever brand style guide, whatever brand manual, brand Bible, social media, collateral, marketing collateral of any kind, it's aligned with your bottom line. Because there's really no point in creating visuals that just don't speak to your bottom line. Even when it comes to the messaging itself, when it comes to things like what sort of copy are we using, what sort of text are we using, what kind of font are we going to use. I'll give you an example. If it's something that's corporate, if it's something that's supposed to be serious, we're going to use a font that is serious and corporate. We can't use a fun, funky font for an organization that's supposed to be serious. It has to fit in with the tone. So everything that you create has to align with business goals as well. And it has to be able to communicate brand values through visuals. And then emphasis on visual hierarchy. So it goes to, I'll give you an example. If you're going to try to scare someone, the color that you're going to use is most likely red, black, because those are colors that are high value, shock value. If you're going to try and get someone's attention, chances are you're going to use lime, orange, because those are energetic colors. So every single one of these elements that we're going to use, it's got a psychological effect. It's passive, so most people would not necessarily take it too seriously. But then when you actually get into the meats and bones of it, that's when you realize that all the elements that you're using, be it the size of a header or headline, the color and the positioning, all of that, it gives a picture to the person who's looking at it of what exactly it is that you're trying to communicate. And all these things are very important because they guide the viewer's attention through certain layouts, and they can lead a person through a layout. For example, if you're reading this particular document, the first thing that you'll notice is that the headers are green, and then the body copy is black. So there's a reason why that's the case, because the main and the most important aspect is the header that's in green, and then the body copy is supporting. So that's part of the visual hierarchy in a nutshell that we're talking about. And then balancing aesthetics and functionality. So it's all good and well to have a brand that looks good, but it really is of no use if it looks good, but then it has no function outside of it. There's a famous saying in art school where people always say that art has no function outside of itself. However, the truth of the matter is that when it comes to design and things like that, this is functional art. So there has to be far much more than just aesthetic appeal to whatever it is that you're creating. Again, be it any kind of marketing collateral, your logo, your social media, be it flyers, be it billboards, it has to look good, of course. However, there needs to be a function to it, because we cannot quite simply just have a beautiful looking billboard, but then it doesn't actually draw people in. It doesn't actually tell people what we're trying to communicate. We want people to call us, and yet we don't give them contact details. It doesn't make sense, things like that. So we need to make sure that we balance aesthetics and functionality. So this is similar to a point that we spoke about before, ensuring scalability and flexibility. This is particularly important when you want to have a situation where you're using your visuals, be it for print or be it used on the digital space. So your colors are going to change. The formats are going to change. You can use PDF for print, but you'll use SVG for digital. These are the things that you have to consider when it comes to the design and the build of your brand's look and feel. The best thing to do is to have a situation, especially when someone creates your logo. The best thing to do is to make sure that they give you multiple versions of that logo, be it in PNG, JPEG, SVG, WebP, PDF. All these formats, they certainly help. PNGs are really good when it comes to being shared across the internet. PDFs are great for print. SVG is very good when you're sharing it with someone else, like another designer, for example, who needs a vector-based format of your logo. And moving forward, using typography strategically. So also very similar to one of the points that we used before, in the sense that we would want a situation where your typography speaks to what you're actually trying to achieve. Again, it goes just back to the bottom line. We need to make sure that the fonts align with the brand personality, and we make sure that there's readability across platforms. And then the final point is leveraging color psychology. The first color that you think of when you hear the word anger is most likely red. The color that you think of most of the time when you think of serenity, peace, could either be white, or it could be green, or it could be a light blue. Those things, these are all color psychology. So if you want to shock someone, chances are you use your red. If you want people to be calm when they're looking at your design, if you want them to feel in harmony, you'll usually look at green. If you look at an example of American banks, most of the time you look at your Wells Fargo, you look at even banks in Europe, like Citibank, things like that. They use a very common color palette, and that's red and blue. First of all, it speaks to the American flag, and then it also speaks to a certainty, an assuredness, a strength of character, essentially. So that's another reason why those particular brands use those. So moving forward, I'm just going to give you a real world example of a company that was actually ignoring these these best practices to their detriment. Not that they're not existent anymore, but I'm sure everybody would know which company I'm talking about in this case. So I'm just going to read it out. So over the years, Pepsi has undergone numerous logo redesigns, leading to a lack of consistency. For anybody who's ever come across the Pepsi fizzy drinks, you know that there's been multiple logos over the past 2 decades, 3 decades. They've been chopping and changing quite a lot. So what essentially that means now is that you've got a situation whereby so many people know so many different Pepsi logos. Now we have no idea what's real and what's not. You now are having a situation where you've got a weak brand image because there's no consistency. So you juxtapose that with a Coca-Cola, and I'm going to show you some slides that are going to illustrate my points. Coca-Cola has been quite consistent in terms of its look, brand feel. We've got a situation whereby they've just been using red. It's essentially red and italicized fonts. That's it. It's been consistent from Coca-Cola. However, from Pepsi, we can't say the same thing. So this next slide is going to show you what I'm talking about. If we look at, we don't even need to look pre-1980. If we look at from 1987 going up to 2014, we've got at least 7 different logos. Slightly different to an extent, but still they are different. So it does create a very confusing brand image. So that's something that you'd want to avoid. That's one of the practices that you'd want to make sure that you run away from as best as you can. You need consistency in every single aspect of your brand, be it on your t-shirts, be it on your business cards, on your flyers, on whichever touch point that you're going to use your logo on, there needs to be some consistency. So moving on to an example of consistent brand image, look and feel, we've got Coca-Cola here. So we've got from 1969 moving up to the present day, it's essentially red and white. That's it. We we can look at the slight variations that are there, but then it's really red and white. Everybody recognizes this Coca-Cola logo when they see it. It doesn't matter whether it's on a t-shirt, whether it's on a truck, whether it's on the bottle, whether it's on a TV ad, Coca-Cola remains Coca-Cola. It's more or less the same since 1887. The only real change was from the original logo in 1886. So that's 200 plus years of brand consistency, and you can see what that has built in present day. So in conclusion, avoid making mistakes by leveraging skilled professionals. And if you're going to go to do the DIY routes with applications like Canva, perhaps to try and save money, make sure you understand the pitfalls of that, and also consult design professionals as well, so as to avoid any of those potential pitfalls. Having a brand manual for your company will save you a great deal of grief, especially if you're a founder in the digital space that we find ourselves in. And coherency and consistency of visual identity is an underrated but vital aspect of brand building. Ultimately, effective graphic design is essential for standing out in the crowded market that we find ourselves in. So that's been the sort of best practices in terms of what you should do. Just to sum it up, I would suggest for anybody that doesn't have a brand manual, for anybody who doesn't have a brand style guide, that would be the first thing to do. That would be the first step to take, just to make sure that you've got consistency and coherency across the board. And then above and beyond that, if you're going to go into any kind of communications, be it social media, be it flyers and things like that, just to make sure that you consult a professional that can advise at the very least on what they can help you with. Or if you're going the DIY route, if you're going to use applications like Canva and Adobe Spark, things like that, then just make sure that you do understand that there's a potential pitfall in terms of not understanding fully the design principles and such. But yeah, that's been everything that I could muster for this presentation, and thank you for listening.
Great, great. Thank you so much for sharing that knowledge. I think design is one thing that people, design and branding as well, people just take for granted, but it does speak volumes. It does tell the world who you are as an organization. And thank you so much, Vincent, for sharing that. Any questions? Any questions? I don't see any questions in the chat. So I want to share, before some of you came on, I shared a video about the Black Blockchain Summit that is coming up, and I'm going to just share it again.
Join us at the 7th Annual Black Blockchain Summit at the historic Howard University from the 20th to the 21st of September 2024 in Washington, D.C., USA. Since its inception in 2018, the Black Blockchain Summit has been the go-to gathering for technology developers, economists, and educationists to present blockchain applications for solving challenges facing Black communities worldwide. Be inspired by thought-provoking discussions from renowned speakers. Past speakers include U.S. Senator Cory Booker, Lamar Wilson, Cleve Messidor, Isaiah Jackson, Naja Roberts, Mike Novogratz, Arthur Hayes, Max Kaiser, Cameron and Tyler Winklevoss, Alakanani Itireleng, and so many more. Secure your spot now. Buy a ticket on blackblockchainsummit.com. Proudly brought to you by Bill Murray, BitHub Africa, and AfriBlocks.
Great. So the Black Blockchain Summit is coming up from the 20th to the 21st of September. It's also going to be in person and virtual, so everyone can also, tune in. And it's one of the activities that we also do to literally bring psychologists, scientists, developers in one place and share education with all of us that we then take to actually solve the challenges and the real world problems that we face as Black people globally using technology. So the Emerging Tech webinar is also a complement to that. Now that you know a few things about web analytics, a few things about design, it's something that's super important that you now go back and say, hey, with what I'm doing and what I'm working on, how can I use all of this technology? And for those who had not seen it in the chat, feel free to reach out to info@afriblocks.com or info@blackblockchainsummit.com to get a free consultation. If you say, hey, I want to upgrade my logo, or I want to add analytics or any other, software development, just reach out to us. For tickets to the Black Blockchain Summit, you can visit blackblockchainsummit.com, blackblockchainsummit.com to get more information and to get, tickets to the upcoming summit. Just seen, yes, I will not forget, we'll send you the recording afterwards. We'll also send you the presentations. But yeah, I think for today, thank you so much everyone for coming. Thank you everyone for staying, to the end of the presentation. It means, it was helpful. Good night, good evening, good day. Thank you. Bye.